So yeah, welcome. New session, new work. So today we're going to see the first memorized version of your talk, right?
Kind of. I'm not 100% there, if I'm honest. I'm not 100% there. I've got a really good position on the whole story and everything that I'm saying. But I'm still not like 100% by memory. I can do like without looking a lot to it, but I look a little bit and don't look the rest.
Yeah,
Because also one thing I wanted to ask you that we haven't discussed yet is slides. Because I can't remember if we have a session later on that. But typically, because I'm gonna be showing some slides, not in terms of text and things, but maybe like images, things to go with the stories and with the whole talk. And typically I would use those to memorize like the different sections of the talk. I don't know what you. I wanted to get your thoughts on that and your advice and tips as well.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I get it. So I would say that of course you need slides because you want to share images and what you present is made also of the content of the slides. I
Hmm.
would always suggest not to count on slides to memorize the talk.
Right.
So the talk should be fully memorized and you should know it. And
Hmm.
I hear like kind of a pushback on that. And I've heard it from many speakers. I can tell you, frankly, those speakers who push back, but then kind of let go and they said, okay, I will memorize it. And they did they struggled to memorize it. But they were 100% memorized and rehearsed, did
Hmm.
much better than those that try to like cut corners and say, oh, but I have slides and this will help me. And actually,
Hmm.
this is what they were telling themselves. And they
Right.
were kind of cheating with me. Now, I'm not telling that it's your case, but I'm just expressing
Yeah.
a common mistake or a common position of
Yeah.
speakers that uh, cling to the idea of having the slides that will help them. And
Hmm.
that's true that slides will help you, but I don't want you to count on that.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't want
I
to.
get it.
You imagine that you are in a dark room with no slides and
Hmm.
you're just talking to an audience. And
Yeah.
then if there are slides, cool, you will add them and you will show them, but that will be on top. You will not
Hmm.
count on them to memorize.
Yeah.
And
No.
I know that this adds a lot of work, additional work, or at least it feels much more daunting.
Hmm.
It's not in the sense that people did it in the past. People
Yeah.
keep doing it, and it is really super important that you memorize it perfectly.
Yeah.
Now
No, I get
memorize
it.
it, and
Yeah. I
and the
think
point of
it's a super
memorizing it,
important
yeah,
point. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it, but yes, I think right. What if you get there and technology fails, right? Then you are, yeah, you're
you're
totally
stuck.
sold. Yeah. So yeah, no,
Yeah,
it makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And
Thanks. No,
yes,
that was helpful.
and,
Yeah.
and from that perspective, right? But also from the perspective of owning the thing, of
Hmm.
owning the talk.
Yeah.
You want to own it because it's
Hmm.
yours, and and you don't want to count on anything to help you remember it, anything
Hmm.
outside of yourself, regardless of the
Yeah.
technological issues. But really, it's yours, and you stroll in the middle in the Ramblas, and you meet someone, and you start giving the talk
Yeah.
without slides, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
in any situation.
Hmm.
That's super important. And I stress it. And even when I stress it, people try to go around it. And those who
Yeah.
are more like accept to do it, uh, they end up much better.
Mm.
And I have
Okay.
like not proper statistics. I didn't do percentages, but I've seen time and again those who were trying to cut corners didn't do well
Mm.
compared to those who accepted the fate of studying and memorizing and rehearsing.
Yeah.
And in fact, the point of memorizing today, of having it all memorized today, as ugly as it sounds, as it will sound possibly, is that from now on we start taking care of the delivery, and we
Mm.
can work on that only if you know it by heart.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's you're still reading, and if you're reading something, you're not learning to deliver it with the right intonation and so on. So
Mm.
that's why I'm stressing it and stressing it and stressing, and it's possibly these the last 2 weeks and this week are the hardest for you for any speaker, because it feels like you're not progressing. It feels like you are putting so much energy into something that doesn't satisfy you yet,
Mm.
um, that it's kind of discouraging. And I totally feel it. I know it is like that. But I promise you that it's a peak that you have to go past. And after that, it's I could say it's fun. It's really fun. Because at
Yeah.
that point you're going to, yeah, I know it, but I'm going to play around with it and see how to change intonation, maybe change a slight word or make the pause longer or shorter. But then you play with something that
Mm.
you control perfectly,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah. No,
that's
it
why
makes sense.
I'm stressing. But
No, no, yeah.
anyway, so now
I think
you,
now that you've shared it, I think it makes a lot more sense. I think it really makes a difference, and I think yeah, I totally agree. I was somehow thinking, well, it's easier. It's just more easier if you have the slides. But yeah, I 100% agree with you. It's a really good point. So yes, thanks for sharing that. That was very helpful.
yeah, thank you, Carlos. And of course, you will have the slides. So you will have this safety net. But
Hmm.
it's like acrobats in the circus. They jump high from one, whatever they call it, to the other. They grab themselves in the air, and they have a net underneath, but they hopefully don't want to use it
Hmm.
because they
Yeah.
don't want to fall, right?
Yeah.
So rather than going, oh well, yeah, I try, and if I fall, never mind. I have the net, because the net might not be there for some reason. Uh, and the quality of what you deliver is much better if you act as if you don't have a net, a
Hmm.
safety
Yeah.
net,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
right?
agree. I agree. Yeah.
So I would say now with what the point where we are, I think you told me you memorize it, most of it, and oh, sorry, 2 points. One is this, that was how we are going to proceed, but before that, um, it's about the slides. Yes, we are going to use the slides. I would suggest to wait one session or two to decide which slides to use and where to put them.
Okay.
Exactly, because at that point you will have a much better flow, and you will see how it flows, and how which are really the points where you need to go and show something.
Yeah.
While not only from what the script says, but also from how you are delivering it. And when you deliver it, it sounds different from how it's written, and it might end up um, that you need to put a slide in a different place. For
Hmm.
example, we had a, well, I was working with one of the last year TEDx speakers, and she was talking about an angel, that she had kind of a vision of an angel, um, and then so the idea was, when she mentioned that I envision an angel in my mind, boom, to show the image of an angel. Um, and then she would continue talking, and the story is that she opens the eyes and she sees a person that looks exactly like the angel she imagined.
Hmm.
Okay,
Wow.
so it's in a context, so I don't need to explain the context. But the point was, initially we thought when she mentioned the angel, we see the angel. Instead, what happened is that we ended up, she mentions the angels, she keeps the eyes closed, and it's still black. And when she says, and then I open my eyes, boom, and the angel appears, or the image
Hmm.
appears. And now in retrospect, it's obvious that was the right place.
Hmm.
But in while building the content, it was
Yeah.
it seemed that it should appear earlier, right?
Hmm.
So we will work on this when you have a better control of the content, right?
Hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
But now, of course, when you talk, you can pretend you show a slide, and let's see how it falls into the structure and the flow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be
And
honest, I think for the slides, at least in my head right now, I would only sort of look at them and put in like sort of point at them when I'm talking about the climate funnel. Like, or before, I would not, I would have some images maybe, but I won't be like pointing at them or anything like that. I think just in the climate funnel, because then, yeah, it makes sense to like point out the different stages of the funnel.
yeah, yes. And then actually for how you present, we will have to decide what we do with the slides, whether they stay on screen or whether they disappear and then reappear
Mm,
when you say something else. We will see. We will see. Now, for now, um, now we have today we have the first delivery by heart, or as much as you can by heart.
yeah, I mean,
Um, and
look, I really don't know it by heart at this point, and just to be like super clear, I really don't know by heart the whole thing. I've been doing a lot of memorizing, but I'm still not there. I don't think I'm there still. I've really tried, but to be honest, like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
you
been a
told
matter
me.
of having the time. I've been like working till 1 a.m. most days, and I'm sleep deprived, and it's just been crazy weeks for me. So I've done my best, but just to be totally honest, I'm not there with the like 100%. So I can do it partly reading, partly not reading. So that at
Okay,
least
yeah.
we can
That,
work on the delivery. Yeah.
yes. Um, so that's what I was saying. That you have it memorized as far as you can,
Yeah.
and for the part that you don't remember, you probably have it on screen and you can see it, you can read it.
Yeah.
Um, I I strongly suggest to get to the point where you know it by heart,
Mm,
and we might decide to take another week of break
yeah.
to give you the time to memorize,
Mm,
because there's there's not much value in continuing pretending that you know it by heart, but you don't know it by heart, and then it becomes every time more difficult to put the energy to memorize it, because you
mm,
feel you're closer to the end result, and it feels great because you are reading it and pretend and delivering it with the intonation and so on, but you're still reading it,
mm,
and going back to the kind of to the drawing board, and it's not back to the drawing board but back to the memorizing. At that point, sound feels even worse, even more difficult, because then you start thinking, oh, how do I have to remember? You have to remember not only the words but also the intonation and all this stuff, and
mm.
it's the wrong order.
Right.
Okay, so I would
Yeah.
say let's do it today,
Yeah.
and let's first have a feeling for it, um, and then you take all the time you need to memorize it as well as you can. Okay.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. No, I think because I think also initially maybe I misunderstood, but I thought the initial plan was to have it fully memorized like between 2 to 3 weeks before the actual talk, and then having 2 3 weeks to rehearse it. Because that sort of stick in my head, like okay, so I've got already still a lot of time to to memorize it because we still have like a month and a half, and I think having that sort of made me also a bit like I guess relax in a way. I 100% agree that the sooner I can
Yeah.
have it fully
No,
memorized, the
no.
better. Like that's 100%. Like I totally agree. It's just that I see it still like a month and a half away of, it's a bit like I 100% agree that the sooner the better. But yeah, I had like
Yeah.
this initial conception of okay, so I need to have it fully memorized like 3 weeks, 2 3 weeks before the actual thing to then rehearse on
That,
those 2 3 weeks.
okay, so probably we got confused because we have more weeks
Mm,
than the weeks that we normally do it,
yeah.
and you see that the what happens is that if you know that you have so basically you have to know it by heart halfway,
Mm, right.
and we are halfway because we did already. This is session 8 basically.
Mm,
Even well, session 7 was not a session because it was last week, just meeting to say how are you doing, are you memorizing, can you do it. So it was like 2 weeks to memorize, but first we have message CTA, which actually we did in another session, but then we have
yeah.
structure, content, stories, final script, and that's halfway. Now we have dynamics, poses, body and space, and manage stage. We have 4 sessions.
Yeah.
So actually we are there.
Mm,
4 or 5 sessions. We'll have one more to finally fine tune. But well, 5 sessions is 1 month and a half because the
mm,
last session you want to leave at least 1 week between like before the event.
yeah.
For the last week before the event, you're not going to study.
Mm,
You're not going to
yeah.
rehearse. We're going to have a dress rehearsal 1 week earlier. Well, probably, well, that's my bad that I didn't send you a schedule with the dates on.
Mm.
And
No,
so I
that's
will
fine.
do
Yeah.
it
So
today.
we've got now, yeah, seven
Uh,
weeks, so we can work with that. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah. So do you want
Cool.
to start?
Yeah. Whenever you give me green light.
Yeah, okay. Green light, go ahead.
Okay. Hello, change makers. My name is Carlos Terol, and I think you've heard a lot about net zero already. So let's chat about something different, like Ferraris and loud exhausts, shall we? So there's this guy who loves polluting exhausts and sports cars. A very climate-friendly guy, right? He was studying at uni and having a pretty normal life. He would drive everywhere in his petrol car with a very loud free exhaust. His goals and aspirations in life, having a more expensive and polluting car each year until retiring with a Ferrari, but not an electric one. I wouldn't dream of that, right? And I wanted to ask you at this point, could you raise your hand if you think this guy is somehow likely to help us tackle climate change and with whom you would like to engage? Okay, that's very interesting. Hold on to that for now. Whilst at uni, this guy had heard about climate change, of course, but it had nothing to do with him. All of those statistics and images of polar bears were way too abstract and far away for him. Life was great without worrying about the possible end of our species, so why bother changing it? Our guy had a friend from an African country, and one day he invited him to go there. When our guy arrived, he saw a totally different reality. People living in extreme poverty, with no opportunities, with no access to clean water. Not even a McDonald's. How crazy is that? He was really shocked. But locals treated him like family, and they started sharing their challenges with him. He learned that people in the area were struggling more and more to get water. They had to go further and further away to find it. Some people said it was because it was raining less often. Other people said because it was raining with less intensity. Whichever the case, life was hard. After 2 months, our guy left and went to live in a country in Europe. Since he had been moved by the social challenges he had seen in Africa, he decided to volunteer for a charity. And he started running events. He brought university professors and PhD students to share about global challenges. One of the talks was about renewable energy and how it was crucial to tackle climate change. Our guy was very inspired by the speaker and decided to start surrounding himself with more change makers. He was learning a lot about this and developed an interest in sustainability. After some time, he realized that he wanted to do his bit for the planet. At that point, he started looking at what actions he could take for a more sustainable lifestyle. He came across an article about plastic pollution and decided to get a reusable water bottle to stop using single-use plastic ones. A friend of him told him about how the food industry has a huge impact on climate, and our friend decided to give up meat and see how that would go. Each action gave him a little sense of fulfillment, as he felt he was taking steps in the right direction. After a couple of years, he even decided to sell his car. Yes, the one with the polluting exhaust. He didn't feel it was aligned with his values anymore. 8 years had passed since his trip to the African country. After changing a lot of his lifestyle, he realized that he wasn't really changing much in the world. Yes, his life was completely different, but everything around him remained the same. And he came to the realization that he needed to collaborate more with others. He started a global platform to connect people who wanted to make the world a better place. He also became very active on social media and started inspiring more people to take climate action. And you wouldn't believe this, but to his surprise, he was asked to give a talk at a prestigious sustainability event. You may have heard of it. The name is Innovation Zero. That guy who loved Ferraris and polluting exhaust is right here talking to you right now. As you've guessed, that guy is me. I'm sure many of you saw that coming. Now let's go back to that question I asked you earlier. Can you raise your hand if you think this guy is somehow able to help us tackle climate change and with whom you would like to engage? Okay, I see a very different response now. And let me ask you another question. Can you put your hands up if you think you would have come here today to Innovation Zero if you had never heard about climate change before? Nobody, right? That is because to take climate action, we need to go through different stages first. So let me introduce you to the climate funnel, a framework to communicate more intentionally and effectively about climate change and inspire more people to take action. As you can see, it has different stages. And if we go back to my own story and start from the very left, when I was at uni, I was just caring about Ferraris. I was outside the funnel, very unaware of climate change, even if I had heard about it. When I went to Africa, I became aware at a personal level. When I was running events for the charity, I developed the motivation to start taking climate action. That led me to take low-impact actions, like buying the reusable water bottle or stop eating beef. With enough of those, I built up the mindset to create a global platform to connect change makers, became a facilitator of Climate Fresk, and a content creator to inspire more people. You can see how I've moved through the different stages of the funnel. I just didn't wake up one day and decided to start taking high impact actions. And hopefully, you can also see how you have moved through those stages. Because you wouldn't be here today if you hadn't gone through some of those stages already. Unless your employer forced you to come here today, of course. But hopefully, that's not the case for most of you. Outside the climate funnel on the far left, we have deniers and people who are unawares. Deniers or dismissive people not only don't believe the science, but are actively working towards discrediting it. Unaware or disengaged people lack the exposure to the issue. Maybe they have heard about climate change, but know very little about it and how it affects them. When they become aware at a personal level, they enter the funnel. People who are aware but not motivated are those who have doubts and questions, see climate change as a distant issue, or is simply not high up in their priority list because they're busy. Motivated people are those who have developed an interest in the issues, causes, and solutions, but they're lacking a little push from others or the resources to take action. When people reach a certain level of motivation, they start taking low-impact actions. Things like swapping the plastic bottle with a reusable one, driving less, or not taking so many flights. After doing many low-impact actions, most people tend to realize that those are not enough and that we need more collective, systemic actions. The ones taken by people in a coordinated way and focusing on multiplication. It's important to clarify at this point that high-impact actions are still actions done by individuals. It's not about leaving responsibility to governments or corporates. It's about you and I taking action collectively. Things like joining movements, creating movements, inspiring people to go through the climate funnel, protesting and writing to MPs, joining a climate company, creating a climate company, and educating others about climate change, or even just talking about it. The list is endless. So how do we use the climate funnel as a framework? Well, the first step is to identify where you are in the funnel. That will help you understand your own journey and realize that everyone is on a different journey. Then, the key idea is to use the climate funnel the next time you engage in a conversation. We want to use it to talk more intentionally about climate change. And the way we do it is by identifying where people are in their journey, adapting our messaging to meet them where they are, and inspiring them to move forward in the funnel. We cannot tell someone who has just ditched plastic straws to go to a climate protest. In the same way, we cannot tell a climate leader of a company to just focus on recycling. So let's start from the left, outside the funnel. Deniers. Well, research by the Yale Program on Climate Change Communication shows that deniers represent less than 10% of the population of most countries. And what do we do with them? Very easy. Ignore them and move on. As climate scientist Catherine Hayhoe says, just ignoring them because it's almost impossible to change a denier's mind. So it's best to focus our energy and time in the remaining of the 90% of the population instead. Now, for those who are unaware of climate change or how it's affecting them, the best way is not to mention the words climate change. In research done by the Potential Energy Coalition, they found that the best way to get people on board with the climate crisis is to talk like a human, avoiding jargon, figures, and statistics. So don't talk about decarbonization, net zero, anthropogenic, greenhouse gases, carbon footprint. Instead, talk about pollution, overheating, extreme weather, costing people too much, the hottest year on record. Especially keep it super local and relevant to the person you're talking to. There's nothing less relatable for someone outside the climate funnel than talking about the polar bears not having eyes or some random far distant island going underwater. Find out more about what that person cares about and talk about that. Is it the river flooding, air pollution, expensive energy? Ask them no more about why it matters to them. That's how you can bring them into the funnel. Now, for people who are aware but not motivated, again, try to learn more about them. A key strategy to move people through the funnel is to develop genuine relationships. When people trust you, they listen to you. This is why communities are so important. And again, keep the conversations very local and tangible for them at this stage. Try to discover if they have doubts and help them clarify them without bombarding them with figures and stats. If they see it as a distant issue, try to help them understand how it's happening right now where they are, without exaggerating. Slowly help them build motivation by learning more about the issues that matter most to them and also potential solutions. Now, people who are motivated but not taking action typically lack ideas, resources, or someone who pushes them a little bit. People in this stage typically say things like, I want to take action, but I don't know where to start, or I just feel alone in this battle. Help them by joining forces. Share a few ideas of very simple actions that they can take with you. It doesn't matter if they're very low impact actions. What matters is that they start taking action to build that mindset for more actions. Again, try to build trust and get to know what matters to them. Is it air pollution? Maybe suggest sharing car rides for grocery shopping. Is it biodiversity? Well, maybe suggest putting some bird food in their garden. Is it the food systems? Suggest going meat-free one day a week together. The idea is to move them from motivation into low-impact action, so any action counts and keep it super easy for them. For people who are taking low-impact action, it's important to recognize the value of the actions they're taking. As Charlie Cox from the Climate Change Coaches says, acknowledgement is a powerful tool. Far too often, I see people in the low impact action going out of the funnel and stop eating actions because people further ahead in the funnel tells them their actions are not making a difference. We want to inspire people to move forward in the funnel, not backwards. So the first step is acknowledging the impact they're making, however big or small. Because what matters is not the action itself, but the mindset they are building, which eventually will lead to more high impact actions. Then we can suggest a few ideas of higher impact actions that they can take. Try not to go to the extremes so that they don't feel overwhelmed. Somebody who just ditched plastic straws is unlikely to join a protest or switch jobs for a climate one. Meet them where they are and inspire them to build up to higher impact actions one step at a time. Now, for people who are taking high impact actions, the biggest challenge I see is that they tend to remain in their echo chambers, talking to people who are also very advanced in the climate funnel and arguing whether we should call it climate change or climate crisis. So if you find yourself there or talking to somebody who is there in the funnel, remind them that the highest impact actions they can take are about amplification and multiplication. Things like educating, inspiring, and mobilizing others. Use your voice to create good ripples. Right now, there are too many people outside the climate funnel or in the initial layers. We need to put our energy into bringing more people inside the funnel and help them and inspire them to move through it. The goal is to make the funnel as wide as possible at the very end to create the big systems change that we need. Because what we need is an inverted climate funnel with lots of people who have gone through it and are taking high impact action. So if you just remember one thing from today, this should be it. Use the climate funnel to talk more intentionally about climate change and inspire more people to take action by meeting them where they are in their journey. After all, even that guy who loved polluting exhausts and Ferraris can help us tackle climate change and inspire action. Maybe. Thank you.
Great, great. Uh, I think that you have already the delivery in terms of voice and intonation and dynamics. You have it already because it probably comes natural to you or something like that.
Yeah. I try to like when I memorize it, I try to memorize it already with those elements in. So I don't just memorize it like, just reading a script, but I memorize it kind of visualizing myself giving the actual talk. So I think that helps me like bring in all of that data together, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. And I think that the way you present it now, the dynamics reflect very much your normal way of talking about these themes. At least
Mm.
whenever we spoke, this is how you are enthusiastic about and how you express your interest and enthusiasm. So yeah,
Mm.
that's good. In fact, it's good to have um, a delivery that is personal to you, but it represents you as well.
Mm.
Uh, so you don't have to construct anything new or fake it or make it up. Um, it's really you, and at times we may need, but I didn't spot any place where you might need to emphasize more or go slower
Mm.
or make a longer pause. Maybe they will come out later when the more advanced you are in the rehearsal.
Mm.
uh,
I
so I
want
would
to ask you,
say,
what do you think about this start? Because I changed it slightly after those
yeah,
things you mentioned.
yeah, I have a couple of points that are still about content,
Yeah.
and you can expect this will can happen all along. Even if you have everything memorized, then changing a word won't
Mm.
be difficult. um, so you say hello, uh, and
Uh,
then you start with the story of I say, um, something like, so much of talking about climate, let's talk about cars and exhausts. With I like the idea. The way it comes out right now, it's not very powerful.
mm.
There is something missing. I don't know exactly what. So how was
Mm.
it before your change?
So before I just started straight into the story. So I said, um, let me tell you the story of a guy who loves polluting exhausts and sports cars. So I was explicitly saying, let me tell you this story of this guy. Whereas now I say,
Yeah,
well, I think you've heard enough about net zero and innovation, so let's do something different, like talking about Ferraris. And I say, so there's this guy who loves polluting exhausts. That's the beginning.
yeah. I think it's it's a nice surprising thing. Uh, yeah, this very much depends on how you say it,
Mm.
because it is surprising, and but there you have to probably really act as an actor, and maybe making it, showing it that it's even exaggerated.
Mm. Right.
Uh, so it's kind of clear that it's some kind of a joke leading somewhere,
Okay. Yeah.
right? Uh,
Yeah.
and this is definitely something that you can do if it fits your style of making jokes.
Yeah.
So let's be careful not to go in a space where you're not comfortable. But I think you are a kind of a guy who makes jokes, right?
Yeah, yeah, I like the humor of things. Yeah, it's not like I'm the most, funny guy on earth, but sometimes, yeah, I like to introduce them. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
general.
yeah. So you're not the joker, the one
Yeah,
always laughing and always. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I see, I
I'm
see.
definitely not that guy, but yeah, I like to have a good sense of humor. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, right. So maybe we can work on that. So it's again it's hello. So you probably have had enough of or so much for, or maybe something strong, like you had enough of talking about climate. Let's talk about something interesting. Let's talk about cars and exhausting and exhausting, polluting exhaust. From exhausting pollution to polluting exhausts.
yeah,
Um, ah, So again, the thing that I just suggested, it's
yeah.
probably very borderline, very almost like to the limit,
Mm.
like pushing. Uh, so we had to see whether you can do that, or
Yeah.
that we had to decide whether you want to do it.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I think
but that's
it's
obvious. I mean,
yeah. Sorry, go on.
yeah. No, no, no. Go ahead.
No, because I actually liked it because I mean you're getting people to instantly shift and it's like, oh, what's this guy gonna talk about? Like this, we are in a
Either they boo
conference
you.
about yeah, we're on a conference about climate change. Like, and I'm saying let's talk about something interesting and not climate change. But then because the whole speech is going to go into how to tackle climate change, then I guess they'll be fine with it. Like they get the irony of uh, just the attention grabber. I mean, I guess some people might not take it too good. Like the more like serious, professional, formal type people. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll think about it. I think I might be okay with risking it a little bit, pushing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, so I think definitely this kind of decision where you decide how far to push the envelope and how far to go with like cracking jokes or whatnot. It depends very much, as I said, on one side on your specific style, your personal style, how you are in real life. So someone who is not used to crack jokes would never, should
Hmm.
never try to crack a
Yeah.
joke because it will came out lame,
Hmm.
almost 100% guaranteed. And it's not
Yeah.
your case, I say, I repeat.
No, no, yeah,
Um,
I do
so this
joke,
is
yeah.
one side. And the other side is about the audience.
Mm,
So even if you are a guy who cracks jokes, but the audience is not, or is not ready to receive it, you should be aware of that. So
mm,
that is an important part of studying the audience and making delivering a message that fits the audience and in a delivery tone and style that fits the audience. So it's for you to decide it and understand whether this kind of joke might work. I guess it should work because it's obviously it's kind of so much out of the borders that it's clear that there is something behind, I guess.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I think that's the idea. Yeah, making it so exaggerated that yeah, people just realize that yeah, it's a joke.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And yeah, so you start with hello. Uh,
Yeah, so one question as well, because I need to ask actually the organizers how the
yeah,
logistics are going to be, because I don't know whether there'll be someone there to introduce myself before I come on stage, or I mean I would imagine so, but I'm not too sure the logistics, so I need to check with them. Because at the beginning, so I just started like, hello, change makers. My name is Carlos Terol, and I think you've heard a lot about blah blah blah. And the reason I do it, it's because I don't know whether, my name's going to be somewhere, but I find that when you say your name, people then have an opportunity to remember it. Um, it is a funny one, but I did a speech at a friend's wedding in back in October. It was like a 10-minute speech in the church. There were like 200 people there in a church with, like, Jesus
Yeah,
just behind me looking at me. and and basically most people that came, there were a few people coming up, and they just started talking about whatever the speech was. But I came up and I say, "Hello, my name is Carlos Terol," and I started the story. And that was such an amazing thing, because after that, I had the whole day in the wedding with people coming to me saying, "Hey, Carlos, great speech. Hey, Carlos." And suddenly, like, all these people knew me and knew my name, and they came to me, saying, "Hey, Carlos." And I found something like super magical about that, that suddenly helped you connect a lot deeper with people. Where if I'm just a random guy coming up and talking, they just don't even know my name. There's no real connection. So that's why I
okay.
decided to put it at the beginning, just in case. I mean, if the guy or the girl who presents me, they say my name, I may not say, but I think there's something powerful in me saying, "I'm Carlos," like, just so you know, and you can relate to me as Carlos and not a random guy here talking to you. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. It's very interesting story that you just told me about the wedding talk and the results of mentioning your name. It is very interesting. I would say the potential difference, or again, the things that we have to be aware when we prepare a talk is who the audience is, what they expect from us, and possibly also if they know us already. If we are in a program where they know already that Carlos Terol is going to talk at 11:15 or whatever the time, and so they know and they read already your biography and maybe the MC introduced you as well. So in that case, it might not be needed and it might be superfluous. So you have to, as you said earlier, you have to verify what's going to be the
Hmm.
schedule and what's going to be the drill when you go on stage. I would say that in a conference like this, since you were invited to be on stage, you are not, as I quote you, you are not a random guy saying something,
Yeah.
right? So be aware of this
Hmm.
difference between the two cases of talking at the wedding or making a
Hmm.
talk at the wedding
Yeah.
versus being on stage at an event. But I take
Hmm.
your point, very interesting. They hear your name when you say it. If no one else says it, and if it's not on the board behind you or on the screen,
Hmm.
then it might be worth um, saying it. Um, but otherwise, in general, as a general rule for a talk, particularly for a TED talk, you don't need
Hmm.
to introduce yourself
Yeah.
because people know already that who you are, who they came to see or watch and hear, and so it might be superfluous.
Yeah.
Instead, uh, it's even worse if you start going, "Hello, I'm Carlos Terol. I do this and that," and then you start like telling them your CV basically.
Yeah, yeah.
That
No, I
would
think
be
my point is
obviously,
it's just saying my name, yeah, so that creates that special connection. Because in the wedding, like, it felt that I was friends with all those people already, because they were, hey Carlos, and it
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
creates
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it creates that connection. And I would love in this talk to come down on the stage and after have people come to me saying, "Hey Carlos, whatever," and that would be an interesting outcome of them thinking,
Yes,
"Hey, I'm friends now with Carlos," because
Okay. So
Um,
while you're saying, there is something that comes to mind that could be a nice device. At the very end, when you say, I hope you are going to use this, um, you could say something and you remember of when you use it, remember of me, Carlos, or something like of your friend Carlos, or something like that. You think my friend Carlos told me this, or something like that, like
hmm,
introducing yourself in the picture of what happens later, so that they
hmm,
then come to you and say, hey, hello, Carlos. For example, I'm not suggesting to do it, but this is what came to mind when, if you want your name to stick with them, uh, it might be something that might work is to give it to them at the end.
hmm,
So then you leave, and the last thing they hear is your name, basically. Your name
hmm.
associated with the message.
Yeah.
That could be
Okay.
another device.
Yeah, I'll think about it. Yeah, might be a way to put it there nicely. Yeah.
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 But of course, if you know that at the beginning no one will introduce you, there won't be an MC, there won't be a slide or anything, uh, it might be worth doing the job that the MC didn't do.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
so
I would
intro,
imagine there's somebody, but I will check anyway. I will check for sure and to understand.
yeah.
I think, yeah, if somebody
But
says, and now we're gonna hear from Carlos, then I probably won't say, hi, I'm Carlos. But yeah,
eh,
because I think
exactly.
because the event like it's got so many stages, so many things going at the same time. I think there's a high chance that a big number of people are there listening to me without really knowing me, in the sense that maybe they're just coming by and they say, oh, I'm gonna go into this room now, or they are there to listen to the previews or the one after me, and there may be, I think I'd rather not assume that everybody knows me and have read my bio and thought. I rather just, but yeah, it will depend on whether they say my name or not before. Yeah.
Yeah. But possibly, if someone comes in and doesn't know anything about you, doesn't even know you or anything, giving them your name at the end might be
Hmm.
easier to remember than at the beginning. Because at the end, if they stay till the end, it means that they were interested and they said, "Oh, wow, this guy is saying very clever stuff."
Hmm.
And then in the end, you give them also your name.
Yeah.
That could be a device.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah,
so
I've got it noted.
yeah. So I think then there were uh, a few other points, but we can touch these next time. Actually, this time we started later because of connection. So let's,
Hmm.
if you can, let's go a couple of minutes longer. Um,
Yeah, I've got like, yeah,
at
five
the
five minutes. Yeah,
at the
5-10
very
minutes max.
beginning,
Yeah.
you say something about, oh no, I don't remember the full sentence. It's at some point you say, but locals something,
Yeah.
but
Locals
locals.
treated him like family.
It's at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Come on, say again.
So I
How is the
said, but
sentence?
locals treated him like family, and they started sharing their challenges with him.
Oh no, sorry. What came before? Yeah, now I remember. What came before? But locals.
So it's when I said like he saw a totally different reality, people living in poverty, lack of opportunities, not even a McDonald's. How crazy is that? He was shocked. And then but locals treated him like family.
Okay, yeah, I think that grammatically is correct. It's correct, but I don't see where's the. I mean, I see that there is this disconnect between how you felt, he felt, and he felt totally out of place. But local were treating him like family. Uh, but
Yeah, I
it
think
doesn't sound
maybe I
right.
can say something more like, to his surprise, locals treated him like family.
Something like that, yeah. Or yet instead of but.
Mm.
But up to you. I just tell you, this didn't sound
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, no, I think you're
nice.
right. Yeah, it doesn't sound great. Yeah, it's a bad that doesn't really
It's
show
like
an
clash.
opposition. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. So this is one. Then later on, when you introduce the climate funnel, you say a sentence. Let me introduce you to the climate funnel, right?
Yes.
What comes before that?
Let me find
What does
it.
come?
Uh, so before that, I said is when I asked them to put their hands up if they had come to the event, if they had never heard about climate change, and I say no one, right? That's because to take climate action, we need to go through different stages first.
And then you say, let me
So let
introduce
me
the climate.
introduce you to the climate funnel.
Okay, so here this is the disconnect that I felt. So you say they had to go through different phases, right? So you talk about different phases, and that's fine. And then you introduce the climate funnel, which in principle it doesn't have anything to do with phases. Then you will discover that it has. But at the moment, it's so what? So let me introduce you to whatever, the ocean.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
because so I said so to take climate action, we need to go through different stages first. So let me introduce you to the climate funnel. At that point, I will show the climate funnel in the slides, so they will straight away see like the different stages. And then in the next section is when I explicitly say, as you can see, it has different stages. So I think it's just that one sentence in between the connection where they see the image and they sort of figure by themselves that they see the different stages in there.
yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, you
So
see
it's
now,
like,
this is some.
yeah,
Hmm?
go on, go on.
No, this is something that we will have to um, explore and experiment with the
Hmm.
slides
Yeah.
to see or to hear how it feels. Um, because in the sentence, let me introduce to the client funnel. I would think at the moment, I would think that the word stages should be there somehow.
Hmm.
Like let me introduce you to the stages of the climate funnel or something like that.
Hmm.
I'm not
Yeah, no,
saying
I
that you
see
have
your
to.
point. Yeah.
There is this transition from stages to the client to the climate funnel,
Yeah.
um, which is so this transition is more smoother, and every step makes sense and is connected to the previous step, so that I mean the audience really can follow you, and you take through a journey of concepts to go
Hmm.
from the problems, steps, and the steps in the funnel, then you describe the funnel. Um, Unless, as you said, the whole sentence, let me introduce you to the climate funnel, is the link between the two ways to talk about stages. Um, Probably try different variations. But again, and don't stress out on that right now.
Yeah. No, I'll think
Um,
about it, and as I rehearse it more, I'll see how it sounds and if I can put something in there.
yeah, yeah. And then when you say everybody's on a different journey, in the same sentence, you repeat the word journey a couple of times. Just
Let me
before
find.
everybody, there is another occurrence of the word journey.
I'm trying to. So where everybody is that at
Everybody's
near?
on a different journey.
Was that near the end?
Yes. When you say that you have to adapt your interaction with people depending on where they are on the journey because everybody's on a different journey.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
Can you search the word journey?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that will help you understand your own journey and realize that everyone is on a different journey.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I can
it's
probably
right,
find.
but it
Mm,
doesn't. My ear doesn't like it
yeah. Yeah, I guess I can probably say that will help
unless
you
you.
understand your own journey and realize that everyone is on a different one or on a different path, maybe.
Yeah, well, that could be one way, or uh, you can do the opposite and do the repetition, but then you have to have at least 3 times. You say you will find your own journey because everybody's on a different journey, and even I have a journey. In that case, it works.
Mm.
I just made up the third one, the third
Yeah,
sentence.
yeah.
But so you have this kind of repetition where you're really putting the emphasis on the journey. This is your journey, everybody's
Mm.
journey, and whatever, the planet's journey or something.
Yeah.
But then I repeat, in that case, you are really putting the emphasis on the journey, which I'm not sure this is what you want to do right there. Possibly,
Hmm.
yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So there should be 3 repetitions, not 2. The
Hmm.
rule of 3.
Well, I do say it just a little bit below, like 2 sentences after or three.
Yeah, but
But
that's too
it's,
far.
yeah,
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 I heard it, but that's too far. It breaks this repeating pattern, which has a name actually,
yeah,
a Greek name, uh,
yeah. So I'll try to see
anaphoresis.
how
I
to
think it's
change it. Yeah,
anaphoresis. Say
yeah,
again, sorry.
yeah. No, I'll try to find a way if I maybe change the word or maybe make it three. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's not anaphoresis. It's something like that. It's not. Anaphoresis is something about chemistry.
yeah,
Uh, okay, so I think these were the notes that I took, and um, dynamics. It generally works. The way you deliver is already uh, right. Is already in the right space. So next time we actually, we can skip also one session because it's also one session about poses. But actually, dynamics and poses, we saw today that it works. And actually, I was noticing that you do the right poses, you take your time, you don't rush it. Uh, so we can skip that one. So we have even more time to well, basically to rehearse,
yeah,
or to memorize and rehearse. So how do you want to? Well, how do you want? I would like to next time uh, to have it fully memorized. Memorized, not rehearsed.
yeah.
Like memorize just
In in
as
two
it
weeks.
comes.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do it.
Well, it could be
I'll do
one
it.
or 2 weeks. You tell me.
Let's do 2 weeks so that I know that I can commit to it 100%. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so it's 2 weeks, and we'll go to the body language, or maybe we'll start. We'll see again what happens with the dynamics, but I think it will be fine. Uh, and we start working on the body body language. Let's call it this way. So maybe you'll be standing. I'll make you stand. But whatever. I don't need to tell you the things that will happen. Otherwise, you prepare for that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So how do you feel?
Yeah,
Right?
good. Yeah, yeah, good. Definitely. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a good thought about those couple things that we mentioned about the beginning and my name and that. And yeah, start memorizing fully 100% without the script. I think that the first part
Yes.
I've got it more nailed with the stories. I think that one I've got it more. Is the second part I need to focus on to have it. I mean, the whole thing I need to, but the second is the more weak at the moment. I think I've got.
Yeah. But it always happens like that. Of course, you
Mm.
start memorizing from the beginning,
Yeah.
and if if you need something as a memorizing device, like bullet points or these drawings or images, that is not the slides,
Mm.
but it is something that can help you memorize it and then repeat after that. That is something that you can do and you should do. Um, so you can at this point to memorize,
Mm.
try writing down the bullet points and then you tell the full content using the bullet points as a guide or
Mm.
a set of images, or I think bullet points should work,
Mm.
uh,
Okay.
so that you feel confident that you can well, not deliver, but well, deliver or say it by heart, without going to the script itself, but just using these prompts that you have
Yeah.
prepared for you. Because then you will remember the prompts,
Mm.
and then
Yeah.
you have the prompts in your mind, not written, and that will be
Yeah.
easier.
No, I might give it a go. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm. Okay, Carlos.
Cool.
Good. I think we have a private call this week or next week? Next week.
Week coming. Yeah, next week on Wednesday,
Next
5:30.
week.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay. So
Yes.
see you then, and then
Yeah.
the following for the next session.
Yes,
Cool.
definitely. Super excited
Good.
about it. Thanks, Leonardo, again.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
been
yeah. You're doing
super
great,
great.
man. You're doing really
Nah,
great.
thank you. Thank you. Honestly,
Thank
I
you,
really
Carlos.
appreciate your help. Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao.
Have a
Ciao,
good one.
ciao.
Ciao, 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 ciao.
Ciao, ciao.